What's up, YouTube? It's Tony here. I know it's been a minute since we've last met, but I think it's time to do an update video from the head pallet replacement with a molded handle like the ones that we have on a Wilson. Alright, so what we have here are two Wilson Blade Pros. Now recently I changed to these. I had been using a different racket, but I came across the Blade Pros and they have been in my bag for about a month. The trouble with these rackets is that they're really hard to find, particularly in the more common sizes, and that is usually what's called grip size 3, L3, or 4 3/8, even though, as we're going to find out, maybe that isn't entirely an accurate number. But this one has been strung. I've been using it for a little while. As you can see, it's grip size 4 3/8. I don't know if you can see that, but trust me, it is. I did some measurements and I'll put that up on the screen here. We can look at it as we go through this. But it's the Blade Pro. It's the V7 16x19. And I absolutely love this racket. And I wish there were more of these available in this particular grip size. Unfortunately, I think like 80% of the tennis playing population uses 4 3/8. But that's okay. Now we know that had it been a head racket, we could have replaced this handle portion with a new pallet. But the problem with Wilsons and Yonex and Babolats is that they don't use a pallet. You can't take this part and put on a new smaller or larger size grip. You're more or less stuck with what they give you because these are molded directly onto the hairpin. And for those of you who don't know, the hairpin literally is the actual racket itself. It's the carbon frame that goes around, and it's two pieces, and we'll take a look at the butt cap later, but it looks just like a hairpin. And what Wilson and Yonex and Babolat do is they mold this polyurethane, or it's probably polyurethane, they mold this directly onto the hairpin. It's basically one piece and more or less permanently attached. So what do? Right? If I have a grip size 3, that's my preferred one. I have a grip size 4, however, that I did get from Wilson. So how can we get this to be the same size as that? Well, with the help of a couple of specialized tools, we're going to make that happen. So let's get the wrapper off of this. And we're going to take a perfectly brand new racket and get rid of this grip. Okay, so we've got the wrapper off of the Blade Pro, the new one. This is the 4.5 grip size. You can see right there, and there's the 4.5. I did take some quick measurements with the calipers, and this does roughly come out to about 4.5 inches with the grip on. And what I'll do is I'll take this grip off, and then I'll take measurements again, and I'll share it with you on the screen of what the bare handle measures out to, and then we'll compare it with the size of the bare handle on the 3/8. Now, if what I think is true, each bevel, of which there are 8 on this racket, should be about 1/64 of an inch bigger, so bigger on the 4.5 than it is on the 4 3/8. Okay, just so you guys are not confused, and just so I don't get confused as well, the grip size 4 racket is the one that has no markings on it for now, and the grip size 3 is the one that is strung up. So the racket comes in at 296, and we're going to take off about 1/64 of an inch off of this handle, and we'll see how much it impacts the weight. Alright, for this next part, we're going to need a couple of specialized tools. This is nothing special. This is just a Dremel tabletop vise that you can get pretty much anywhere. And this is just your basic Dremel, not your basic, but it's your Dremel 8220 handheld, grinding. This, however, is a specialized piece of equipment, and I'll put the description and a link to it below. I got it off of Etsy. There's a guy who lives here in PA who makes this specific attachment for the Dremel. And what it is basically is a planing tool that takes off exactly 1/64 of an inch. And this is meant to plane doors, right? So to help you get some material off the door so you can put on things like hinges and door stops and things of that nature. It just so happens that this is the exact depth of shaving or planing that I need to take off the grips to get me down from a 4.5 to a 4 3/8. All right, so let's see how this goes.
All right, so it's a good time now to cut away and take a look at some of the measurements that I took on the Wilson. So we have here the initial Blade Pro stock grip size 3 measurements. And I measured each bevel. Bevel 1 is just as the racket is laying flat. It's the widest bevel that faces you. So you've got 1 and 5. Should be about the same size. 3 and 7 are the two sides that are perpendicular to 1 and 5. But anyway, I did it 3 times. I used calipers, and this is the Blade Pro grip size 3. And as you can see, I did it 3 times for all 8 bevels, and it came out to roughly 4 inches in, well, perimeter since it's a polygon, but roughly 4 inches, okay? Which, kind of makes sense, but that, suggests that the grip size is really just the manufacturer's estimation of what the grip size is with the stock grip. So if you take it off and you put something else on like leather or 2 over grips, it's no longer going to be L size 3 or L size 4. Just keep that in mind. The Wilson Blade Pro grip size 4 stock that I measured ends up being about, we can kind of disregard this one. It ends up being about 4.2 inches or roughly 1/8 of an inch larger, right? So that means the 4.19, which is the grip size 4, minus the 4.06 should be about 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch larger. And it's roughly there, right? So, I guess we're not being deceived, or at least, like the manufacturers of these rackets are, being true to what they're saying. It's just the bare hairpin handle size is different than what the grip size indicates on the sticker.
All right, so we have our handle prepped. All the areas marked in black here are just so I know where I have and have not taken off material. Now, just to look at the tool a little bit, this is about the width of a door, which just so happens to work perfectly in our situation for the handle of a racket. Every bevel is far narrower than this, right? So as long as I keep this perfectly flush with the bevel edges, I should be able to take off, according to the manufacturer of this, or like the maker of this jig, essentially, about 1/64 of an inch. 1/64 of an inch times all 8 sides of a racket gives you about 1/8 of an inch total. So that then, in theory, should take this racket handle size down with the grip on from a 4.5 to a 4 3/8. Is it critically important that we get this level? Probably not. But I would want to eliminate as many variables as possible. The problem with, or the concern that I have with doing this manually is that I will actually lose the corners of the handle here by taking off this material that's not quite flat with the bevel surface. So here we go. Let's turn this on. Yeah, wow, so I can already feel a bit of a thing here, a bit of a Well, material's been taken off clearly. Um, that took off quite a bit just in one pass. So let's keep on going and see what happens. All right, well there we have it. I can definitely feel there's been material taken off. The bevel corners feel okay. I didn't do more than one pass on any one side because it was taking off quite a bit more than I thought it would. Um, but let's go take some measurements and I'll put them on the screen so that we can compare the before and after L4 grip size dimensions to our baseline L3.
Okay, so we're back at it, and I did want to share with you what I measured off camera, again with the calipers on the shaved down Wilson Blade Pro. Now, if you remember, our stock Wilson Blade Pro grip size 3 was roughly, about 4.0 whatever inches in perimeter. And then our stock grip size L4 was about 1/8 of an inch larger, or 1/8 of an inch is 0.125. So 0.125 plus 0.406 is roughly 0.17 or 1/8, which is pretty close. And give or take enough fudge factor here, or enough error in both the way I measured and in the manufacturing process, I'd say we're right there. So if our shaved down grip size L4 is anywhere close to 4.0 whatever, right? Or if we take the 4.19 as our baseline and we subtract off the 0.125, it should be somewhere in the 4-inch range. And the second time I measured this, or at least the time that I measured the grip size 4 after we shaved, it does come out to 4.05. So, the math here works. The tool, or the jig rather, to shave down the L4 to an L3 and the portions of the grip handle that, was shaved down, seems to have done the job, right? And we're back down to a 4.05. In fact, in some portions of the handle, it's even less, which is the difference here. It's even less than the stock grip. So if anything, I may have a grip that's just ever so slightly smaller, but probably not enough for me to notice, or these variances or the differences in the measurements are accreditable to error in both the caliper and just the repeatability of my own hands. So back to the video.
All right, so I still got the mess of the shavings here, and just want to get the weight of this real quick. So it took off about a gram, give or take, and the resolution on this is plus or minus, I don't know, I'm sure it's more than a gram. So we'll say that taking off about 1/64th of an inch all the way around, which just so happens to be the thickness of a business card, by the way. Didn't take off much in terms of weight at all, so that's a good thing. All right, so we're back. I took some measurements of the shaved down grip size 4, and I compared it with the stock grip size 3. And we can talk about that in the video and find out what happened. I would say overall it's a success. Definitely the tool was a little more aggressive in taking off material than I had suspected, or at least I thought it might. But I did, again, one pass, and as best as I can feel, the edges of the bevel, or the bevels on the grip, are nice and intact. So I think this is a success. I'm going to put leather grip on this thing and this one, and we'll do the hand feel and see what it feels like. And maybe I can take the sticker off of this and rebrand it as a homemade grip size 3. So there you have it.